All right, so the Chiefs signed veteran running back Perine, and his signing might be better than we thought for a couple of important reasons. In fact, he might even be better for the Chiefs than McKinnon was last year. And in today's video, I'll do a deep dive with Seth Kaiser as to why that is, but not before I cover Brett Veach's presser today with the media, where he revealed why the team let go of Toney and shared other very interesting nuggets about the Chiefs roster. So let's talk about it. But first, how about those? All right, before I get into the awesome conversation with Seth Kaiser, who looked at 200 Perine snaps from last year when he was in Denver, and talk about all the things he brings to the table and why he's such a great signing, possibly even an upgrade from McKinnon, I did want to mention that Chiefs GM Brett Veach spoke to the media today about the roster construction and how things went down. Regarding them parting ways with Toney, Veach said they were disappointed, as was Toney. They liked him in the building. He's a very bright guy, and the talent is definitely there, but he had some bad luck with injuries while here. Some of that you couldn't control, like tearing your meniscus on the first few punt returns of the first camp practice that happened 2 training camps ago. However, Veach then said some of the injury stuff Toney could have had a bit more control over if he prepared himself properly in the offseason.
Some of the things I think we talked about was sometimes you can make some bad luck turn into good luck by just doing some little things in the offseason to take care of your body. And I think that's a process he's working through, and certainly not for lack of talent.
He reiterated they really liked Toney and think he'll catch on with another team if he can tighten up the offseason stuff and get his body right. He doesn't think they are gearing up, talking about Kansas City, are gearing up for a three-peat without making the trade for Toney, and I would assume that means he's really grateful for the positive stuff. Maybe his punt return in Super Bowl 57, a few of those things. It seems like they were grateful for Toney, but it was definitely time to move on. I specifically found it interesting that Veach mentioned several times the fact that Toney needs to better take care of himself in the offseason to set his health up for better success. And that seems to ring true from what others with knowledge of the situation about his work ethic off the field at least have mentioned to me. It's such a bummer because Toney has the talent to be something in the NFL. He was just never able to fully put it together, and I don't know if he ever will. Now, another guy they moved on from, a fan favorite, was running back rees-zammit. LRZ ended up signing to the Jags practice squad, which was officially announced today, and Veach said they kept the situation open with Lewis when they waived him. I think they were potentially open to a return to the practice squad, but they wanted him to look at other situations as well. He was impressive throughout camp considering his lack of experience, but the Jags have a good relationship with Europe. They play there twice a year, I believe, and Veach noted that's a really good spot for him, possibly playing an appealing role as to why he ended up there. Then, Veach talked about contract extensions with the 4 big players that are on contract years. He said there were so many players to discuss keeping around that they had to approach it one player at a time, and basically it seems like there was a bit of an order. The 4 players mentioned were Harrison Butker, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and Nick Bolton, and I think that tells you their order of importance. They wanted to get Butker paid first, then Creed, and now Veach said they have had discussions with Trey Smith and his agent, but didn't say one way or another whether a deal will get done or not before the start of the season because Creed's deal took them quite a while to get done. So hopefully Trey Smith does end up getting paid and stays a Chief next to Creed Humphrey for years to come. But if it happens before the season, they don't have much time left. It's only a week away. And then it was also reported that the Chiefs put in claims on multiple cornerbacks on the waiver wire after roster cutdowns, and they did land one of the 3 in Eric Scott Jr. Veach said having depth is important to them, especially in the cornerback room where they've battled injuries, so that's why they put in so many claims for that position group. Then they were also looking for more special teams help, at first from a running back potentially, but they then came across Peyton Hendershot and ended up trading for him because they wanted to have Noah Gray play less special team snaps, which makes it seem like they want him more involved on the offensive side of things. And with Hendershot having over 400 special team snaps logged with the Cowboys, he stood out to them for that reason. Veach also shared that they were really looking for 3 things when it came to help from a depth perspective around this roster cut down period: a wide receiver, mainly after the Hollywood Brown injury, more on that in a bit, a running back, which again, we're going to get to that in depth, as well as help along the edge of the defensive line. And I would think that's because FAU has not yet been flashing. Well, that's why they ended up trading for Cardinals defensive end Cameron Thomas. He didn't think they had 5 defensive ends on the roster at the time, and Cameron Thomas helped them accomplish that. He will, however, keep monitoring the D-line as time goes on, but they also have to keep in mind that great help in Charles Omenihu is coming back from injury at some point this season. Veach even said this, quote, "He's the last missing piece." Yeah, I can't wait for Omenihu's return, but it's not going to be for some time, maybe around November. All right, now let's focus up on the last two players Veach opted to sign in Samaje Perine and JuJu Smith-Schuster. Let's start with JuJu. Basically, once Hollywood Brown got hurt in the Jacksonville game, the preseason opener, they had a good conversation with JuJu's agent, and the good news, side note, about Hollywood is they think Hollywood's timeline to return will be similar to Tyreek's, so roughly a month of time missed. Not talking weeks of the NFL season, but just a month of time missed from when he got injured, and then he's back out there. Veach didn't confirm whether Hollywood's going to play week 1 or week 2, but did say he's progressing nicely. However, he is injured, and so they looked at the wide receiver room as it stood and decided to make a move. With the depth guys on the roster in the receiver room, special teams was the key, and while Remigio, Ross, and Washington had good camps, they opted for Mecole Hardman of the group because he will be used out there in ways with Hollywood out on offense. Then, of course, he can also return punts and or kicks. And then, while Rashee Rice filled in that JuJu role in the intermediate part of the field last year, they still feel like JuJu did some of those things better in the middle of the field than anyone else they had on the roster, maybe aside from Rashee Rice or obviously Travis Kelce. So bringing JuJu in gives them the ability to sub guys out and keep a similar level of production in the middle of the field. QB-friendly guys, we know what JuJu brought when he was here 2 years ago. Even if he has just a small percentage of that, he is welcome here. And what I took away from what Veach said about all this is they value having depth with that particular type of pass catcher. When you have guys like Rashee Rice, JuJu Smith-Schuster, and Travis Kelce who can feast in the middle of the field, that's a win, and they ultimately valued that and the depth there over having another player like Justin Ross, Nico Remigio, or Montrell Washington on the roster. Next up, Veach shared that one of the other positions they were concerned about was the running back room, specifically for a third down back that can pass protect and catch passes out of the backfield. And that's why they signed Samaje Perine. He checks those boxes, and he's now here in KC and ready to get that 1-year deal officially done. In fact, it might get announced here in a bit. Veach even said that hopefully they can bring him up to speed fast enough to get him some action for the opener against the Ravens. And on the subject of Perine, boy, do I have an awesome segment for you coming up where Seth Kaiser, who again looked at over 200 snaps of Perine from his time in Denver last year, he's going to walk us through several plays and several things that Perine will really help out in the Chiefs offense this year, things that are actually even an upgrade potentially from Jerick McKinnon last year. So let's get into this conversation with Seth Kaiser, but before I do, just look at this. Whoa. Now, if you're wondering what I was so excited about, it's Football Head Coach, the ultimate mobile football management game that's officially licensed by the NFLPA, so you can get access to real players' names and likeness. And in this free mobile game that's available on your preferred app store, you can build your dream roster with your favorite players, which is exactly what I strive to do here. Of course, I have Randy Reed as my head coach of the KC Chefs. Had to do it. But as you can see, my current roster has plenty of room for improvement if I want to get more W's. Well, I can enhance my roster by completing player trade challenges, buying players from the transfer market, or purchasing packs. So let's just go ahead and open some packs to find a star player or two to help carry me. Devontae Adams, dog. Nick Chubb, he's not actually healthy yet, but we'll take it in this game because he is. Brandon Aubrey for the kicker, clutch, gonna need that. And then, this isn't the star player of the pack, but Nick Bolton. I like that a lot. He's on the roster. So as you can see, I got a bunch of dogs on both sides of the ball here. However, I still need to get a franchise QB, so let's head over to the transfer market to try and find someone because Jacob Eason is not going to get it done. Well, I guess CJ Beathard is going to have to do. He's slightly better, so let's ride. Then I upgraded my roster at every position group, and based on the roster I have with basically a mid QB, I adjusted my offensive strategy to an aggressive team that mainly goes for short yardage throws and is a 65% run-heavy offense. For defense, I went more middle of the road, but this should be good enough. And with that, I smoked a few people, but then found a guy that was pretty freaking good. He had Caleb Williams as his QB, Isaiah Pacheco, Devontae Smith, Tyreek Hill. This Wolfpack guy was stacked. And here's a little bit of how that game went. Oh, of course, Caleb Williams throws a touchdown. Cool. I cannot lose to this guy. 3rd and goal. Touchdown, Mike Williams. 4th and goal. Please go for it. Jawan Johnson touchdown that's got me up 10. And thankfully, I held on to the league to win it. And quick matches like this are not all you can do. Football Head Coach also features a weekend league where you can earn amazing rewards. So make sure to qualify during the week and compete against other players for top prizes in the weekend league. And of course, don't forget to download Football Head Coach 25 for free via the App Store and Play Store. You can do this with the QR code that's shown on screen or by clicking the link in the description down below. What's up, everybody? I'm here again with Seth Kaiser. The last time, Seth, we were chatting on the channel was actually talking wide receivers, the state of the wide receiver room after the draft. It's always just a privilege to have you on, so thanks for taking some time on your lunch break, I believe. While you're on shift. The Chiefs being back in the news, it was for good stuff. They've made a lot of moves, but one in particular was the veteran running back Samaje Perine. As a vested veteran, he was released from the Broncos and got to choose as a free agent where he wanted to sign, and he opted for the Kansas City Chiefs. I know you spent a bunch of time diving into like 200 of his snaps. I'm down and ready to talk as much in depth as you want to talk about Perine and what you think he brings to the offense.
Absolutely. The thing to keep in mind when you're talking about Perine is Jet McKinnon. That's exactly what to keep in mind when you're talking about him. There was a Jet McKinnon-sized hole in this roster. Isaiah Pacheco has increasingly been involved in the passing game. Last year especially started to get more and more involved. But running back is a position by committee. And what we've seen for the last 3 years is the Chiefs trust Jet McKinnon down the stretch, especially down the stretch, on third downs. And with him no longer on the roster this year, and you could see he had really kind of lost his burst down the stretch last year, they needed to replace a guy that they were really comfortable with having on the field on third down. Now, they like Carson Steele, but he's a rookie. And pass protection, everyone sees, like a big dude like Carson Steele. In the NFL, pass protection is 99% mental. It's about your willingness, but it's much more so about your understanding of scheme, your understanding of where the pressure is coming from, your understanding of different hot reads, just all these different checks that the quarterback's making. That's what McKinnon was great at. And especially in Andy Reid's system, where the quarterback dictates things at the line of scrimmage, you need to have that ability. And that's a lot to count on a rookie to do. Perine's been doing it for years. And so one of my favorite things to look at with him was pass protection. But before we even talk about that, he caught, I think it was 50 passes last year on only 56 targets, was a big part in Sean Payton's offense where they really integrate the running back a great deal. So one of the first things right now, I wrote about on the Chief North newsletter. I'm looking at some of the video clips that I utilized, which I had to cut like 20 video clips just to fit them into the Substack. There's a lot of really fun snaps with him. And the first thing that you'll notice with him is that he's very comfortable catching the ball on the run and transitioning into a yards after catch guy. He's not explosive. He's not incredibly athletic. But on, say, a play like this, you can see him catch the ball while on the run, immediately transition to yards after catch mode, getting up the field quickly. And he's got a good feel for when to stay outside and when to cut inside in space. But it's his comfort catching the ball that people should really latch onto on snaps like this one. And basically any time that he's asked to catch the ball, the second clip that I looked at was one of my very favorites as well. Really all of them. I picked my 7 favorite. One of the things that you notice here is when it's a rollout designed to be a shot play with kind of a layered concept with Perine available underneath on the off chance that there's quick pressure. Well, there is, because you've got, I think, a tight end trying to block Max Crosby. That goes exactly how you would expect it to go. No. And that's why some of these shot plays with rollouts and tight ends doing some quick blocking on a defensive end, man, you got to adjust that depending on who you're playing, because you can do that against some guys, not against Max Crosby. So here what you see is there's immediate pressure, so they don't have the ability to take a shot down the field. So the ball comes out to Perine quickly. The thing to notice is because of where Crosby is situated relative to Russ Wilson, the ball comes in behind him, and you see he's got to turn his hip, scoop the ball, and turn and run. And he does it all very smoothly, very efficiently. And that's what allows him to be ready to break a tackle. Imagine if it took him 0.2 of a second longer, or he slowed down just a little more as he's collecting that ball thrown behind him. 0.2 of a second in the NFL, it's an eternity. And that would mean the tackler would be on him before he turns and can run. Here, it's a difference of 30 yards. Because he has time, he gathers it quickly, immediately transitions into yak mode, and then he gets to show off his bounce through contact, which is one of his better traits. He's not a great athlete. His relative athletic score is not good. And he's 5'10-ish, 230 pounds. He's more of a power guy, but he moves very, very smoothly. Kind of reminds me of Spencer Ware. Honestly, in that respect, if you're looking for someone that Chiefs fans would remember. And so that's the thing. As a pass catcher, he understands how, or he not just understands, but he's got the ability to quickly gather the ball and move into yards after catch mode. And he's got great bounce through contact. So he's a threat anytime you've got a man coverage look to break that first tackle. People think of man coverage stuff in terms of, getting open against that defender. And that's certainly important. And certain guys like, McCaffrey, I mean, they shake guys in space immediately and create yards of separation. Perine doesn't do that. But what he can do, he gets to the right spot and he immediately is a threat to break that first tackle because he moves so smoothly, because he catches the ball so smoothly, and because he's got great bounce through contact. And so you see here against Green Bay, he doesn't create a ton of separation, but he creates enough. And then once he catches the ball, if you don't wrap him up appropriately, he'll shake you right off like a guy who's 5'10 and 230 pounds and get down the field very quickly. That's where a lot of his yak came from. It wasn't necessarily him running away from guys. It was shaking that first tackler. And what's great about that ability is it can punish man coverage looks, which the Chiefs struggled with at times last year. So those are things that he does well as a receiver that have me excited. Another thing, if you look specifically at Andy Reid's offense, similar to Sean Payton's offense, his understanding of timing and spacing. And this is what you get when you get a 28-year-old veteran. He wasn't used a ton in the screen game because Sean Payton's offense was actually a little more – There were some screens, and this is like the play we're seeing here, but he was often just a check down option, which is great. If you catch the ball, you turn it into a 5-yard gain instead of a sack or whatever. That's great. The thing with the screen game is it's all about spacing and timing, and you need a running back who's patient, who understands where to be on the field, when to get there, and when to explode down the field. So on this snap, if he just sprints through this rep, that ruins the play because the blocker's not in the right spot for him to get full out there. Instead, what he does is he hesitates, he stays within the confines of where his blockers are, and then once he gets the ball, then he explodes upfield between his blockers. Makes a really nice cutback there too for extra yardage. So, and you can find what I always tell people, these plays that I show, these video clips that I show when I write these articles, they're not meant to be dispositive. It's not meant to say, hey, he did this one time, and that shows that he does this. What they're meant to be is demonstrative, right? Any NFL player, and I think we talked about this last time, can have incredible plays and terrible plays on their highlight reel. What matters is what you do snap after snap after snap. And so these plays are meant to be demonstrative of what he showed snap after snap after snap. That kind of spacing and patience, that is something that you need in Andy Reid's system, and it makes him a great fit. And that's just as a pass catcher. If I'm moving too fast, you let me know. And but the deal is he just understands the framework of the offense. This is a great snap to demonstrate that. And I'm basically giving away the farm here, what I wrote about, but I don't care because it's too much fun. Please subscribe anyway, everyone. But this is too much fun. So what you see here is the Vikings they're utilizing a simulated pressure here. Okay, it's basically, people might think of it as a zone blitz, but they're only rushing 4 guys. So they show multiple guys at the line of scrimmage, then they drop a few guys that would be traditionally rushing, while they blitz guys that traditionally would be in coverage. And so the idea with a simulated pressure is you're only sending 4 guys, but you're sending them from weird places. And the idea is to make the opposing team waste blockers. In this case, Perine would be one of those blockers because you end up with 6 guys blocking 4, and that removes the running back as a pass catching threat. So even if you don't get pressure with a simulated pressure, you can win by removing a pass catching option. But what Perine does, and I assume this is what he's coached to do on the play, he quickly recognizes that it's not a blitz because he's initially staying in, right, to protect against a blitz. He sees that the hat that he was supposed to have, whoever it was, they're not coming. And so he immediately, upon recognizing that he's not needed in pass protection, gets out of the backfield and gets into space and provides that bailout option. And I think they gained like 20 yards here or something because, and it's a direct example of how understanding the assignment, knowing where you need to be, is more valuable as a third down back than being an explosive athlete. That's why McKinnon was so valuable to the Chiefs last year.
I will say, just by looking at this play, somebody with less experience probably would have stayed. Like, hey, who do I block? I don't know what to do. Maybe it was a design like, hey, if there's no pressure, this is what your secondary, what you're supposed to do. But like, just seeing his ability to do that, I don't know, it makes me really excited for the Chiefs offense because Mahomes is very savvy at identifying stuff pre-snap. And if he could easily communicate that to somebody like Perine, where you're seeing somebody like maybe Pacheco, as good as he is, like he might not even have that just understanding of the game based on the coverages to peel off like that. Because you're right, he's looking for his man to block, and he sees him back out, and he peels off. So that's very exciting. And also, while I have the floor for a second, I just want to say,
I finally stopped talking for a minute.
No. It's good. And that's what I talk enough on this channel. So I want people, if I have a guest on, I want people to hear what you have to say. But I'm just saying, if you don't want to give away your whole article, you definitely don't have to. So just let me know, because I know this is a paywalled article. And please, everybody, go subscribe to Seth's Substack. It's very affordable, and he's dropping stuff all the time. 53-man stuff, any signing, snaps after every game. Like, it's very well worth it. I only subscribe to a few Chiefs pieces of content, paywalled content. The Athletic with Nate Taylor is great, but then Seth is right up there on the top of the list along with KCSN. So appreciate all you do.
Sure.
If you want to talk more about the article and pass protection, we can show more, or I'll leave it up to you.
Let's just do one more. Let's do the one against the Chiefs. I'll let everyone know one place you can go, because Briscoe set it up. You can check out this article itself, and you'll see a place where you can subscribe for $12 a year forever. There's the little button to click there. It's a 60% off deal. Substack makes you charge $30 a year, and I've just kept that coupon open forever because that's what I do. And I mean, if you want to pay $60 or $30, I'm not going to stop you. But I mean, it's available. There's also a free trial available there. And the other thing I would say, and I always try to say this whenever I'm a guest appearing anywhere, if $12 isn't on the table for you, and I have been there, just reach out to me on Twitter and DM me, and we'll get you set up, because I never want the reason someone can't read content that they want to access be because they're not able to. Because I've been in a lot of times in my life where $12 was like, yeah, I don't have $12. And so just DM me on Twitter if that's the case. But Perine, so this is one of I've said this like 4 times. It's like when I'm talking about my kids. This is one of my favorite snaps in all the snaps that I looked at. So I can't just not talk about it. So this is fun for a few reasons for Chiefs fans. One, it's because Spags is a psychopath. All right. So he shows a zone blitz, and then he shows what looks to be a simulated pressure, except it's actually a zone blitz because he's sending multiple guys. If you look, he's backing off the nose tackle into coverage while rushing the safety and the slot corner and the inside linebacker because he's mean. Spags is just a terrible human being for doing things like this, but it's a really good opportunity to see Perine understand the assignment in pass protection, even though there's pressure here, right? Because you can only do so much as one guy. So without getting too deep in the weeds, I mean, if you look, Willie Gay Jr. is lined up at the line like he's blitzing, and then he backs off into coverage on the other side of the formation. It's just psychotic stuff. The thing that I love here, Perine has to come across the formation. He sees the blitz coming. So initially, he's got to keep an eye out on Willie Gay Jr. Maybe the right guard's got him as well. But you've got multiple other blitzers threatening there as well. But he still sees, despite having to worry about his side of the line, he sees coming across the formation is Justin Reed. And he gets there in time. He recognizes fast enough, gets there in time to arrive under control and fight him off with strength, lays a nice shoulder into him, and holds him off. The work he did there, because I think it's Trent McDuffie who comes screaming in on a blitz on his own a half second later. The work that Perine does here is the difference between a sack, and the throw actually getting off. Now, it's an inaccurate throw because Wilson's like, what in the world am I looking at? But that type of half-second difference, if you can buy your quarterback a half second as a running back, it's allows you to avoid negative plays. Avoiding negative plays for an offense is very nearly as important as making explosive plays, because negative plays are drive killers. Sacks are drive killers. Obviously, interceptions are drive killers, that kind of thing. But those things kill drives. And a guy like him who's consistently, and so this is just a couple of snaps here that I've got in the article. And I've actually, here's what we'll do. There's like 2 more in the article. So you got to read it.
And a screenshot.
And a screenshot. I mean, come on. But what you see is consistent with what you see on film from him. He's consistently in the right place. He consistently shows drive and effort and intelligence as a pass blocker. He is your Jet McKinnon for 2024. He fills the exact same role, and he might even be an upgrade over what Jet was able to bring. And I love Jet. I mean, I appreciate so much what he's done to help the Chiefs bring home a couple of Super Bowls. But similar to Perine now, Jet the last couple of years, he wasn't quite as jetty anymore. He wasn't as fast as he used to be. Smart player, good player, but he didn't have that burst, and he wasn't a tackle breaker. Perine is. So there's a chance they may have actually managed to very cheaply upgrade over where they were at this time last year at a position that was the weakest on the offensive side of the ball. It's a terrific signing.
Well, this made me even more excited. I mean, just going back and me as a fan watching stuff and collecting data and stuff to share about my video last night, because there were so many moves. I didn't drop a video until like 10 p.m. last night because I was trying to collect everything for everybody with the practice squad, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I was definitely excited. I knew this was your third down guy. Makes me a little bit interested what they're going to do with the running back room. Are they going to keep 4? And we'll probably see a transaction, I would think, later today or tomorrow about who they waive or release to make room for Perine. And I don't know that it's going to be a running back, but I also don't know where else you're pulling somebody, maybe O-line. But I'm definitely intrigued, like with CEH's health, the youth of Carson Steele, and he's just unproven right now, even though he's had a great preseason. And then Pacheco, I mean, he's going to be your workhorse. Been working more out of the backfield as a pass-catching back with the wide receiver coach this offseason. Like, very exciting stuff. But Perine helps with that so much. I was still concerned about the running back room. And my hot take on the 53-man roster projection I did before preseason started was that Jerick McKinnon would be on the roster come cutdown day, or some veteran running back. And I thought I was actually going to be wrong. But thankfully, Veach heard me. No, I'm just playing. But thankfully...
No, he was watching, fortunately, that day. Yeah.
He's definitely not watching. But he was concerned enough. Like, if I'm concerned, I know that they had to be concerned a little bit. Because I thought CEH might fill that role. He did it in a pinch with when McKinnon got hurt last year. But this is better to me, and I'm very excited. Yep,
absolutely the correct take. And you never know how things will play out. The thing with Perine, he's been in multiple systems. Peyton's system and Reed's system are very different, but they do ask for some similar things from the running backs. So there's a nice crossover there. I'll be interested in seeing how quickly he's able to pick up the offense in general. The great thing about having a guy like this, in my opinion, is I like Pacheco, and I want him to be a workhorse, for his own sake, in terms of getting that second contract and some of those other things. And he's a good player. He helps the Chiefs. But running back wears you out, especially when you run like you're angry with the world. And Pacheco's running style, I mean, that's going to have him nicked up. It's going to have him, it's going to wear him down over the course of a season. If you have someone who can help take some of those snaps, or multiple guys who can do that, then you can have multiple guys who are a little more fresh come January and February, because obviously that's when the Chiefs, that's what they're shooting for this year, trying to make history. So I absolutely love it for the skill set that he has, for his ability to really come and jump in on a role that they didn't really have anyone that was a sure thing to do it. So yeah, it's a great take. You nailed it. When you looked at the projected 53, it really was the running back room only, where there was a lot of, I'm not quite comfortable with that. And so well done you.
I try, but I'm often wrong. However, we did get that one right. You're just looking at like Deneric. What if Deneric Prince he has the training camp hype like last year, and then I said, what if he fizzles out in preseason again? And he fizzled out so bad, he's not even on the practice squad at this point in time. So I'm just glad. I don't really care if I'm ever right or wrong. I just am glad when you look at the signs of the roster, how it's shaping up, that they obviously saw the issue too. If somebody like me is seeing it before preseason even starts. They were well aware. So let me know your thoughts on this conversation with Seth Kaiser. Do you think he is potentially an upgrade from the third down back we had last year? All due respect to Jerick McKinnon, he did lose a step, just age, injury, whatever combination of factors it is. He did lose a step. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments down below. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?